Okay, we're here with Robert Battle, who, of course, is the artistic director of Elvin Ailey American Dance Theater. And we actually just saw an earlier work of yours called Etude. And that's what, I hope to talk about Ailey in a second, but I kind of want to throw it back for a minute because I think maybe Chicago audiences might be surprised to know that Chicago companies are some of the early repositories of your choreography. How did that start to happen?
Well, that started actually because of Julie Nakagawa Bircher. Um, Gosh, I'm trying to remember. I think we were at a performance um, in, what is it, Champaign Irvine, or am I saying it wrong?
UIUC. Let's say UIUC.
Yeah. Thank you. And I was dancing with the Parsons Dance Company, where I was also choreographing my early works. And they saw a performance. She and her husband saw a performance, and then they saw the Q&A afterwards, and then they made their way to the stage in the house and said that I should submit my work for the first, I believe, choreography competition, because they were artistic directors of Herbert Street 2. And that was even before the second company at Ailey did the first work of mine. And so that was right at the beginning of my career, and then subsequently River North and other companies. But and that relationship with Julie has remained.
Yeah, it's extended into Dance Work Chicago. Is that right?
Yes, 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 absolutely. Where I said etude, and so I feel very much at home in Chicago, and of course, in the way that the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater has a home at the Auditorium Theater and in Chicago. So it's interesting how this is always kind of circled back, right? In some way, both large and small, to really impact my career.
Yeah, both large and small. That's a dichotomy that often comes up in Chicago. And you're kind of the embodiment of that in a way too. Yeah, Ailey. When Ailey comes to town, it's like a holy week here in Chicago for sure.
Yes, it's definitely a spiritual thing. It really is.
Yeah, and I imagine you get similar receptions anywhere you go, but is there something in particular you think about this pairing, the company and the audience here? What resonates so much with Chicago and Ailey?
Well, certainly the history of the relationship, but also the vibrancy of Chicago. The history there. It's all around you. It's accessibility. That's the word that comes to mind when I think about the connection between Chicago and the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. And certainly when the curtain goes up at the Auditorium Theater, I mean, you feel that, like a good friend, like a really good friend, you can sort of not speak for few months, and you come back and it feels like you just go. And like I was saying, I mean, and it's fine. The connection has only deepened. And so I think that is very much a flavor of Chicago, that sense of welcoming, that sense of really appreciating what we do on that stage, and appreciating that we appreciate Chicago. So it's what I say is a really wonderful love affair.
Yeah, and I just got to take a half second to say that, in addition to the honor of receiving the Ruth Page Award with you in this space a couple of years ago, the unexpected perk was that I had great seats to see the company, which, the last time I saw, I was living in New York and, of course, couldn't afford those great seats.
Yeah,
And just to like be up close and, as you say, like just continue the conversation
yeah,
as if, yeah.
yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. I feel that same way about Julie. I know I keep bringing her up. I hope she's watching. We don't talk for a year or so, and you just take up where you left off. And that there's something about that that is quite wonderful and special, and it doesn't exist with all friends or all places. And so I really, really love that.
Yeah, and there's something quite special about her too, especially when it comes to cultivating emerging choreographers,
Yeah.
as you once were, and she's still doing that now. So yeah, I think it's great that we're giving her some love, and I hope she is watching too.
Yeah.
It occurs to me, and I hope I'm not wrong about this, but I think that this is the 61st birthday of the premiere of Revelations today.
Is it the 60th anniversary? I believe that's what we're celebrating. Oh,
Okay.
but you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. If you think of it that way, we just think of 60th anniversary.
Yeah, yeah, but
Right.
it premiered on January 31st, which I learned from your
Right.
60th
Yes. Yes.
anniversary.
Yes.
So,
Look at
and
you. Got the facts down.
hey, it's my job. Facts I'm not so good with actually, but but I saw what you did for the 60th celebration, and I just loved kind of the layering of time, present and past. And so,
Mhm.
I wanted to ask the question, leading this company that's so steeped in history and yet continuing to innovate, and move forward. What is that balance like as the artistic director? How do you make that happen?
Well, it's for me, it's actually what makes the job easier is that there is sort of a ground underneath you. There is a sense of the notion that you're standing on shoulders, that there has been a vision that has always been articulated. And so my thing is to sort of, I don't have to write the score, I just have to add my voice and my own notes to what's already there. The melodic line is there. That is in the DNA of the company. Now I come in sometimes with the bass, and I overlay, if you will, my own vision in terms of this company with so much history. And in some ways, when I bring new works into the company, it's not so much that no one's ever seen Minus 16 by Ohad Naharin, which I first saw actually in Chicago when I saw Hubbard Street do it. It's not that everybody hasn't seen Chroma by Wayne McGregor, but they haven't seen the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater do it. And in some ways, because we are such a brand, it makes everything we do slightly different. And I love that. But also, I'm a person, even when I teach class, I'm always talking about the past and how that's influenced what we're doing now, that it comes from somewhere. It didn't just show up, right? It traveled, from the use of the torso, from, the contributions of Catherine Dunham, to all of these people that have influenced what we do now. So if you think of the company in that way, past, present, and future is the backbone of this organization. And as somebody who appreciates history, I love what I get to do.
Yeah, again, so well said. I'm wondering, what do you look for when you bring a new piece into a company like this with so much history?
It's interesting because one would think that I focus on the newness of the particular work or choreographer, and that's important. So in that sense, one is often looking for, wow, nobody's ever seen this, or nobody's ever. I actually look for what's in the DNA of that particular work that I see so connecting and resonating with the company, the Ailey company. And so one may look at a Wayne McGregor and look at Chroma. I'm just going to use that, just carry with that example. But when I see his use of speed and his use of the torso, I see very much the influence of people like Ulysses Dove, who danced with the Ailey Company, and Alvin had him make his own work in the company. I see a certain slang, in the way that he uses the ballet technique, but in a sort of fractured and interesting way. So whereas someone is seeing how different it is, I'm seeing how similar it is. And that's what I kind of look for when I'm curating.
That's really, really good to know. I think I'm going to take a hard left. I wasn't sure if I was going to ask you this, but I will because it's something that, again, like what we're trying to do here with CDHP is sort of uncover those histories that you can't access necessarily in a
Mhm.
book or, taking a dance history class in college. And I had the good fortune of interviewing Mort Kessler, who was one of Giordano Dance Company's original dancers, and of course, greatly involved with the Jazz Dance World Congress, which was such a thing
Yeah.
in its time. And he told me this really endearing story about about you being at the Jazz Dance World Congress, which again, for anybody who's followed your career lately, of course, that was a surprise to hear. What was your involvement there?
Oh, well, of course, they would bring me and Battleworks to perform, I believe. This is a long time ago. And God, I remember John Layer, God, a lot of different people that I was connected to. And so I would come and teach and do workshops, these huge classes where you need a microphone or a bullhorn, which I had never experienced, which was wonderful. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, it's great to picture you in all of these different environments and how they connect to Chicago, Hubbard Street 2 and DanceWorks and Jazz Dance World Congress and the auditorium, of course, with
Yeah.
Ailey.
And
Um,
also, the Lar Lubavitch and his festival there. And of course, I have this connection with Lar Lubavitch. So there was just so many inroads. I can't even begin to tell you all of them. It's amazing.
yeah, we talked with Lar about the Chicago Dancing Festival earlier today. And one of the things that came up was that it was an opportunity for companies who never got to see each other to hang out for a minute, too.
Yes, yes. And I have to give a shout out to Frank Chavez, who was really important and has been in my life and career. So anyway, carry on.
No, that's your timing is impeccable, and you're basically taking over my job. Frank Chavez is coming up in the next
All right.
segment.
Okay.
So if you want to cross paths with him in the green room, you can give him a shout yourself.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just such an honor to be able to learn from all of these artistic directors, yourself included, and that's what our next panel is, talking more about artistic directorship. Thank you so much for taking the time with us today. It's always great to talk with you.
You too. This is wonderful. So
All
thank you.
right. Yeah, best wishes.
You too. Thank you.